In a small village on the edge of the Nigerian savannah lived a man named Okoro. He was a man of humble beginnings, but Okoro felt so much emptiness deep within his soul. He was tired of being a village farmer and wanted more out of life. One evening, as he was driving along the lonely road that wound through the village, Okoro spotted a familiar face standing by the roadside. It was Chuka, his childhood friend. They had grown up together, played under the same trees, and shared the same dreams of success. But Chuka had disappeared years ago, leaving behind whispers of his strange fortune and mysterious absence. Now, Chuka stood by the road, a tall, imposing figure. And the car beside him, a sleek, black luxury vehicle, shone like a piece of night sky. The kind of car that only the richest men in the world could afford. Okoro's heart raced with a mix of excitement and envy. Without hesitation, he stopped his car and stepped out. "Chuka. Is it really you?" Okoro exclaimed. Chuka turned, his dark eyes glinting with a knowing smile. "It's me, Okoro. It's been a long time." Okoro's eyes fell on the car. "This car. How did you get it? I heard rumors you disappeared without a trace." Chuka chuckled softly, his smile widening. "Aren't the rumors? But look at you, Okoro. You've done well for yourself. Wealth, power, respect, everything you ever wanted." Okoro couldn't contain his curiosity. "But tell me, Chuka, how did you do it? What's your secret? You left with nothing, and now, look at you. How did you come to own this car and this kind of this life?" Chuka's smile faded a little. He glanced at the car behind him, as though weighing his next words. "You really want to know, don't you?" Okoro nodded eagerly. He wanted to know everything. He was tired of being second in command, tired of always striving for more. He wanted power, something that would make him unstoppable, untouchable. Chuka leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "Okoro, the secret to everything is the spirits of the road." Okoro's heart skipped. "Spirits?" Chuka nodded. "The roads we travel, the paths we walk, they are not empty, my friend. They are filled with ancient spirits, spirits who can give you everything you desire. All they ask for is a price." Okoro frowned, puzzled. "A price? What do you mean? What price?" Chuka's gaze grew cold. "You see, the spirits will grant you power, wealth, and success, but in return, they require blood. The lives of the innocent." Okoro's stomach churned. The thought of killing someone, of sacrificing an innocent life, was repulsive. But the lure of untold riches and boundless power overshadowed his moral hesitation. Chuka continued, his tone dark and inviting. "All you have to do, Okoro, is pick them up from the roadside. A young girl, alone, anyone you find who seems lost. You give them a ride, and when they step into your car, the spirits will take them. It's simple. You give, and they give in return." Okoro felt a cold shiver crawl up his spine, but as he stared at the luxurious car, the images of the life he could have flooded his mind. The power, the respect, the endless riches, it all seemed so close, so achievable. I can't do it," Okoro stammered, but his voice lacked conviction. The hunger for power was too strong, and the promise of wealth too tempting. Chuka's smile grew wider, almost wicked. "Of course you can, Okoro. You already want it. You just have to take that first step. Once you do, the road will open up to you." And so, with a heavy heart and a mind full of doubts, Okoro agreed. From that night on, Okoro's life took a darker turn. Every evening, he would drive through the roads, picking up young women he met on the streets, in the guise of giving them a lift. At first, it felt strange, like a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. The first few rides haunted him, the fear in the eyes of the girls he picked up, the way they disappeared without a trace. But as the days passed and his wealth grew, the guilt began to fade. His crops flourished. His businesses thrived. His mansion grew larger, his cars more luxurious. He had everything he had ever dreamed of, more money than anyone in the village, more power than he had ever imagined. But there was a price. The nights became long and restless. Every night, the voices started. At first, they were faint whispers in the dark, whispers that seemed to come from the very walls of his house. Okoro ignored them, convinced it was just his mind playing tricks on him. But as time passed, the voices grew louder. He would lie in bed, tossing and turning, hearing the cries of the women he had abandoned on the roads. Their faces haunted his dreams, their voices calling his name, accusing him of their deaths. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't eat. Every night, the darkness seemed to grow thicker around him. The voices became clearer, louder, more desperate. He felt as though they were right beside him, watching him, judging him. It wasn't long before Okoro could no longer ignore the torment. He realized that his wealth, his success, had come at a terrible cost. He had given up his peace of mind, his soul, in exchange for power. One fateful night, after another restless evening of hearing the haunting voices, Okoro decided to seek out Chuka. He drove to the same road where they had first met, hoping to find answers, hoping that his friend might offer him some solution to the torment he now faced. When he found Chuka, the man was leaning against his black luxury car, as though waiting for him. "Chuka. I can't take this anymore. The voices, they won't stop." Okoro cried, stepping out of his car. "I thought I wanted this life, this power, this wealth, but it's tearing me apart. I can't sleep. I can't live. What have I done?" Chuka watched him with cold, indifferent eyes. "You're hearing things, Okoro. It's all in your head." "No." Okoro shouted, desperation flooding his voice. "The voices are real. I can hear them every night. I can't sleep. What do I do?" Chuka sighed and said, "You wanted wealth, power, success. You made your choice. I don't hear the voices because I've come to terms with it. I've accepted the price. I eat the excreta of the mentally retarded every day, and it doesn't bother me anymore. But you're still weak." Okoro's heart was breaking. He looked at Chuka, but all he saw was a man who had long lost his soul, a man who had given everything for power and wealth. "I can't live like this, Chuka. I can't," Okoro whispered, his voice shaking with fear and regret. "I wanted more, but now I see that not all that glitters is gold. My peace, my soul, it's worth more than all the riches in the world." Chuka's smile faltered for a moment, but then he shrugged. "It's too late for you, Okoro. Once you make the deal with the spirits, there's no turning back." But Okoro didn't listen. In that moment, a realization dawned on him. His wealth, his success, his power, none of it mattered if he had no peace, no rest, no freedom from the torment that consumed his every waking hour. He had chosen the wrong path, and now he had to find his way back. The next day, Okoro sought solace in the only place he could think of, his local church. He had been raised in the faith, but had long since abandoned it. He stepped inside the small, humble building and sat in the back pew, his heart heavy with regret. As the pastor spoke about redemption and the power of God's grace, Okoro felt a deep sense of peace wash over him. He closed his eyes and prayed. For the first time in years, he prayed for forgiveness, for his sins, for the lives he had taken, for the darkness he had allowed to consume him. "I give my life to you, Lord," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "Take away my torment. Give me peace. I don't want this life anymore." And in that moment, the voices stopped. For the first time in weeks, Okoro slept soundly through the night. He awoke with a sense of calm, knowing that his life had been redeemed. Okoro abandoned the mansion and the cars. He returned to the village, where he lived a humble life. Years later, Chuka ran mad and died.